Hidden away inside a computer exists another world. Its creator designed it for games. But it became so much more.
First of all, I would like if you could tell the audience that will be watching this interview, what do you do and what it means to be a storyboard artist?
So basically what I do is I take the script and I turn the script into a visual representation of the script, which gives the director and producers, for that matter, a first look of what the movie would look like. Now, there's a bit of a difference between animation and live action. In animation, you have a lot more work that goes into it. There's a lot more planning because you don't have a camera that you can't go to location and start filming as you do on live action. Everything you see on screen in animation has to be exactly planned out. So whatever it is you see on screen has to be drawn, designed, conceptualized at one point. So that also reflects on the storyboard artist. There's a lot more to do in animation than there is in live action. I'm not saying that we don't do anything live action, but live action boards are often more of a concept than an animation.
Right.
There's a lot more time that goes into an animation board that goes into I mean, if you're on an animated movie, usually you employ it for much longer than you are on a live action project.
When was the moment that you say for the first time that you wanted to be, an artist, a storyboard artist, and working more in animation?
I think I got into storyboarding was more of a necessity because there weren't any more animation jobs that I wanted to do 2D animation. I wanted to draw. And I moved to Los Angeles, and I realized pretty quickly then that those jobs, they were basically all done overseas. And of course, there was the CGI part of it, but at that point, I wasn't really interested in 3D animation. I was more interested in 2D animation. And unfortunately, those jobs were not available at that time in Los Angeles. And I sort of like ventured into pre-production and came up with storyboarding, which was sort of like the closest thing at the time. And now it's my career. I started enjoying doing that, actually much more, because honestly, I lack the patience now for doing animation. My head is always ahead of my hands, and my hand can't keep up that fast. So it's it all worked out really well for me.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about your work in Tron Uprising.
Sure. Yeah.
So how did you get involved in the project? And what I want to know is, how was the idea presented to you for the first time?
Right. I was at Disney Television at the time. I was working on a different show, and I heard about the Tron project, and obviously I was a big fan of the original Tron movie. I had seen Legacy, and then this project came up, and I actually found out that somebody on my show was going to go over work on the other show. So I said, so I asked them to introduce me to the director, Charlie Bean, and that went really well. I actually took a test, when they give you like half a page of script and you have to,
Yes.
I don't like that concept. I think it's horrible. It's a horrible concept. They should pay you for your time, and but anyway, that's a whole different story. But I did the test, and it turned out pretty good. Good enough, I guess. So they hired me, and then shortly after they introduced me to what the project was about, and I really liked it. It was a really cool idea. and it was a very ambitious idea, and it was a very ambitious TV show, and it's not often do you find, especially an animated TV show, that has so much depth. There was a lot going on. There was great character development, and there was a good storyline in it, and that was really attractive to me.
Right. Yes, and it has a very different animation style from the cartoons that we usually see.
Yes.
So working on the project, what difference did you notice in the animation process compared to your other works before?
Well, there's the beautiful character design from Robert Valley's characters, who have their own, they have their bit of their own anatomy. Yeah, they're very elongated. So I am not sure how it affected the animators. I can't really speak to that. It was all animated in Japan, by Polygon Studios did that for us, who did a tremendous job. It's just outstanding. But I can tell you how it affected me in terms of storyboard, because you have to frame the characters a bit differently. You have to take into consideration that they're all elongated, and that affects how you frame the figures, how you frame them effectively, and still frame them, give it a good composition. So you have to sort of like get into that mindset. It's eventually, you just shift your parameters of how you compose the page to accommodate for their individual anatomy, if that makes sense.
Yes. Well, you mentioned it, Tron Legacy, and I have to ask you, what was your thoughts about the movie when you see it?
Well, I liked it. It was essentially, it's a retelling of the first movie. There's a lot of story elements in it, and I like the visuals a lot. I think a lot of the ideas in Legacy probably were not pushed to the fullest extent, and I believe that looking at Tron Uprising is that we accomplished that sort of Legacy didn't quite achieve, in terms of going full grid and taking advantage of the sort of, considering that it takes place inside a computer.
Exploring the world, you mean?
Yeah.
Rising Spurs, the cities,
yes.
and yes.
Yeah. Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how do you think the series compared to Tron Legacy and the Steven Spielberg movie, and how important was it to maintain the same style that the movie had?
I'm happy that Tron Uprising achieved its own entity. That it wasn't a direct spin-off of the first one, or a direct spin-off of the second one. Obviously, we had to adhere to certain rules that Legacy set style-wise. But I'm also happy that we were able to sort of sneak in stylistic elements from the first movies, like the guards. The guards didn't exist in
Legacy.
In Legacy, but they're those guards with these, like the, what I'm talking about, with the big sticks. Yeah. They were recalled the first movie, and I love that we were able to bring certain elements back from the first one and kind of sneak it into this one, and kind of make it a whole world.
Right. Yes, there's a lot of references and Easter eggs.
Including the bit. There's one episode exactly. Where the bit goes, no, yes. Yeah, I love those. Even the old bike in one. We have the old bike in one episode.
Right. Yes.
So it's some beautiful recalls.
Do you remember which episode was the most complex to illustrate?
Yeah, it was. Well, it's my favorite one too. It complex in a sense that it was unusual. It was the stranger.
Yeah, I imagined that.
Yeah, that was my favorite. That was my favorite episode to board because it was so unusual, and there was so much. The script changed a lot in terms of once we hit the visuals, we sort of had to make up this world, and we didn't really know what that prison was or how it would look like. So I did a lot of design work and kind of figured out for myself what that environment would look like. Yeah, I think that was the most fun I had. That was the most complicated. Because we just didn't know what the environment was like, but also the most fun, because it was it just stood out from all the other episodes as being very different.
Right.
And if you remember the beginning of it, where Beck hits the traffic jam,
yes,
right? There's another character that tells him that there's a big traffic jam ahead, and well, I originally boarded that as Travis Bickle, the taxi driver. It was originally looked like Robert De Niro with a mohawk, but then of course we couldn't get the likeness, and we changed it to the one that ended up on screen.
Oh, that's great. That's great. If you think that the animation style and the story, the complex story that tells,
you think that those were reasons for it to be canceled?
Right. Maybe led to the young audience not being.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I have no insights of what the decision making was at Disney. Why they did. First of all, I don't. Honestly, I don't think the Disney Channel I was on. What was it? Dimension.
Disney XD.
XT. Right. I'm not quite sure if that was the right channel for it. I think it was a bit too sophisticated. It had a lot of adult themes in it that I don't think it was the right channel. You certainly, it just didn't fit in your 3 o'clock afternoon lineup. And I don't think Disney knew quite what to do with it either. They put new episodes up at 12 at midnight on Sunday, and that means nobody's gonna watch it. I still meet people on the street that had never heard of the show, which is a shame. So I think it probably should have aired on Disney. The main Disney channel, or even something like the Sci-Fi Channel. I think that would have been a great home for it. And even ABC on the evening lineup. I think it was it was sophisticated enough to be well received in that area. So it's I don't know what the reasons were. I never had any feedback from anybody. Nobody tells me nothing. As there was a movie in the working.
Yes, I was going to ask you.
And that was meant to be the transition between season 1 and season 2. And at the time that was still going forward. And then we didn't hear anything back, and then it didn't hear anything back for a long time, and we kind of figured it just went away. I mean, it never was officially canceled, but it just took so long that it kind of fizzled out at the time. And we kind of assumed that it wasn't going to come back. So yeah, no, we were set. We were all excited to go into season 2. I mean, there were some spectacular ideas, places that you had never seen before, places that were familiar. There was some great stuff going on. It's a shame that it didn't come back.
Yeah. Well, about that movie, a few months ago, nobody knew about that project. I mean, no one.
Right.
It was revealed by Bill Wolkoff. Bill Wolkoff revealed on Twitter that there was a movie.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised that he did that. I mean,
yeah, everyone.
Non-disclosure agreements don't expire, so it's So I don't know. I kind of got cocky and posted that picture, and so far nobody has said anything. So
Right. Yes.
I mean,
Yes. I guess.
whoever is gonna see this interview is gonna get reminded of it. But hopefully we're gonna be okay.
Yes. I guess you can talk about it that much, but how far along was the development? I mean, how
Well,
advanced?
to my knowledge, we had the script for that movie. I think they were working on the story arc for the second season. That was in development, and we had the script for the movie, and I boarded about half of it, and that's basically where we ended it. Yeah,
Just that. Yeah.
That's just like that, Yeah, and it just never got. There was no plan for picking it up, and we just kept hearing nothing, so it just went away. Yeah, but this is not unusual,
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's a project based environment, and things are always there's always a chance that your project you're working on just goes away for whatever reason.
it happens. Yes. Well, I have to thank you for sharing that art.
Oh,
obviously. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it's the only the only look we have from the movie, beside that script page that we shared.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Daft Punk no longer exists, so that kind of took care of itself anyway, even if it gets picked up.
Yes. What was it like working on the series, and did you already have any idea of what the story will be in season 2?
Yes. Well, as I mentioned before, working on the series was a lot of fun. We had a good amount for each episode to work on. We were a team of 2. I was teamed up with another great board artist, Sean Song. So we each take a half of the half-hour show, and we had a good amount of time to really figure out what was the visuals, what we needed to tell the story, and there was a lot of good communication between ourselves and the director, and so it was a great work environment. Really look back fondly on that. And did we know the story arc for season 2? Yes, some of it, and of course I cannot divulge that, but at least the first half we sort of had figured out. But it would have gone to places familiar and unfamiliar. I think that's all I can say, and we would have seen some good. There would have been some great surprises in there.
Why in Tron Uprising there are different cities and places that you don't see in the movies?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for Tron Uprising sort of had its own identity, and if you have something episodic that spans an entire arc, you sort of have to sort of, first of all, make it your own and expand on what's there. So obviously we needed more environments to tell the story that do not exist in the movie. If they had been required in the movie, they would have been in there. You know what I mean? I mean, if the story had required different places, then they would have been in there. And the TV show, standing on its own, needed its own identity. Had its own characters. I mean, we never saw Tesla in the movie either, as a henchman of Clue. So that sort of has to be invented in order to tell a satisfying story.
Next one, if Disney renewed the project and you were called to work on it again, will you accept it?
Well, it It all depends. I mean, what my schedule looks like. I might be on a different project and might just not be able to do it. It would be tempting, sure. I would definitely be interested in what they're planning and what it looked like. But then again, we all moved on and we're doing different things, and it all depends if my schedule would allow it.
Do you think the series could come back at some point, maybe in comics?
I never say no, because things have been revived that I thought were long dead, and 30 years later you get a sequel. So
right. Yes.
you absolutely, these days. There you go. So absolutely, these days you just don't know, and it seems comic book is always a viable alternative for more storytelling. It seems like a lot of properties have employed that, so can't say no. Don't know.
What official reasons did Disney give to the cast about the cancellation?
Couldn't speak to that. I haven't talked to any of the cast afterwards. I don't know what they told them. No idea.
Well, here's what was the fate of Beck, Tron, and the others characters in the movie or season 2?
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. Yeah, there's another one that says, I think the question is clear. We all want to know what was Beck's fate, where he was for the Tron Legacy events.
Well, okay. Well,
you can give your opinion.
At that time, honestly, that is something you always have to retro invent, because at the time when Legacy came out, Tron Uprising wasn't planned. So where were all the characters? Maybe some software engineer was writing that program, as who knows? But you always have to retro engineer that if it's necessary. Obviously, it takes place in the same world. We know Clue is there. It's the same Clue as he was in Legacy. But that's a question that was never discussed because it was never necessary. If it becomes necessary, you sort of retro engineer it and kind of fit it in, make a mention of it. But yeah, don't know.
Which one of all your works was your favorite?
Oh wow. Well, it's Tron Uprising was definitely one of the ones I will always look back fondly on. I had a lot of fun doing it. It was a great show to work on. But I don't know if I have great experiences on different projects, so it's really hard to say. It's the funny thing is, it's a lot of times it's not really the project itself that is, it's not really about the hour and a half in the movie theater or the half hour on TV that really counts. It's sort of like the time, because you spend a lot of time making it. So it's really about the people you do it with, and that work experience, and that is often that really counts. And oftentimes you work on something it's not really a great project, but you have a lot of fun doing it because the people you work with are just outstanding. So it's hard to say. I don't know. Let's go with Tron Uprising. stay with the theme.
Do you see any future for the Tron franchise?
Again, it's hard to say. I'm not gonna say no again, because I know that they're working on the third one. I think it's a viable IP. There's still something there. There's still stories to be told. So the fact that Disney's not going to sell it, they still own the rights, and I'm sure that they're still trying to figure out what to do with it. the fact that there's a third one planned, I'd say there's a future. You know, it might very well be, I don't know, rebooted or come back at some point.
Right.
I had this. I was supposed to frame this a long time ago, and I still haven't done it.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Is everyone who worked on the show?
This is the entire crew and cast of the movie. Yeah, I should really frame that. You know, I kept it
Yes, you
unframed
should.
because I'm still missing a couple people, and I was hoping I would able to catch him at some point. So I don't know what we got that poster. Alberto Mielgo designed it, I think, for Comic-Con at some point, and I was like, I don't know. I just started collecting them, and then it turned into this huge collection. Which is the other thing I took away from the show was because usually you don't have a lot of mementos of something you work on, and this is a nice one.